everyone. We're going to experiment with mixing colored plaster today. If you come and look in my buckets here, I've used acrylic paint, and in my water in the mixing bucket I've diluted some yellow paint, I've diluted some green paint, and in another container some blue paint. So I'm going to use this big plastic form to cast my plaster in. I've got a couple inches of water in it. I'm going to mix the green in there and attempt to marbleize the blue and yellow through it. So this is my first time trying this with color. I've got my bags of Plaster of Paris. Take my paint, no, I guess I can stir with those. All right, I'm going to sift the plaster in to the colored water, just like we did for the plain plaster earlier, and make sure that we're going to end up with an island, so we know we've got enough plaster in it that's not sinking. So there's only about an inch and a half of water in here to start with because I didn't want a big quantity. So I'm just making sure there's enough powder so there's an island that's not sinking. Okay, I'm going to also, since this bag is getting low, I'm just going to pour it out of the bag into, ooh, I want to put my green color in here. Make sure it's mixed around. Okay. And then I'm going to put my plaster into this container. Again, sifting in the dry plaster into the water. Seeing how much is going to sink in. Making sure the island is not a floating island. All right, it needs a little bit more. Still sinking in, so I'm going to add more powder. My thinking is that the colors are going to look lighter because the plaster is white. So I'm hoping for kind of a pastel green color with a more intense yellow and blue marbleized into it. Okay, there's a good island. That's not sinking now. I'm going to mix up my color batches. And I think the colored acrylic, diluted acrylic paint is going to mix in smoothly. All right, so that's partially mixed. It looks like it's smoothing out. And always remember, use cold water when you're mixing plaster. All right, I'm going to stick my hand in this green and mix. So I'm also thinking that when the plaster becomes totally dry, which will take several weeks, because even though it's hard, the water is still part of the plaster. So it will dry out eventually and become lighter in weight. Okay, I gotta squeeze all the lumps out. See, this green is very pale now. That's what I was hoping for. Got some hard lumps in here. Okay, I'm going to leave it in this container to harden. So I'm going to end up with a cylinder, a cast cylinder, to use as my sculpting material. And okay, that feels pretty good. A couple of hard lumps came out of that bag. Okay. Now I'm going to give these one last stir here and pour the colors in and just mix them in very little because I want areas of different colors. I don't want it to be totally mixed in because I want a marbleized look. I want to create areas of different colors. Oops. Okay, you don't want to mix so vigorously that you're frothing things up. You just want to get all the lumps out. Okay, so I'm gonna pour some of this blue in. And I'm gonna pour some of this yellow in. Alright, and I'm going to, it looks marbleized on the top, but there's no way for me to know what it's going to look through to the inside. I'm either, I don't know, I suppose I could go in with the brush and just give it a minimal mix there. I think that's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to let this harden, and hopefully it will have interesting patterns in it all the way into the interior, so as I'm carving it will not be plain white, definitely, but we'll see what happens later. That's it, making colored plaster. Bye.